Coach, you're replacing a couple of different starters. Obviously, Brady Bramlett's coming back and is going to be in the thick of it. Do you have a lot of guys that you're considering, or are you getting a better idea of what your weekend rotation is going to be?
Well, I think one of the hopes for every coach is, you walk out of the fall and have a pretty good idea of what your rotation is going to be. We probably didn't get as far as we'd like, but one of the reasons is, as you mentioned, we only returned one of the starters in Brady Bramlett, and we'd like to leave Short and Stokes in the bullpen, so that leaves a lot of new guys or guys that haven't pitched yet. I think guys that certainly are candidates of Chad Smith, an outstanding junior college transfer from Alabama, big right-handed pitcher. Sean Johnson, who's coming off Tommy John surgery and pitching some simulated games at the end of this past fall, and looked terrific. And, big freshman from Texas, San Antonio, Texas, James MacArthur, looked terrific, in the fall. And David Parkinson, another junior college transfer, a left-hander. So I think we have an idea. We just haven't narrowed it down yet.
Who are some of the newer guys that you've really been impressed with hitting-wise?
Well, that's one of the good news for us. I think when you look at our team this year, and the biggest difference is we returned 7 of the starting 9, and most of those 6 or 7 guys I'm talking about have been here in their juniors and seniors, and guys that have probably close to 500 at bats in Southeastern Conference, and some of those guys played in the World Series a couple of years ago. So excited about them. Henry Lertigue had a terrific fall. I thought Colby Porter's had a monster fall for us. And of course, a couple other names that people know so well: Aaron Robinson, J.B. Woodman. We think we're excited about the offense this year.
There's a lot of speed all over the field with Deshaun and Robinson and Woodman and Cloyd and guys like that. That's really got to help the small ball. You can do a lot of different things as far as hit and runs and stuff like that.
And you're exactly right. And another thing to add to that is, their experience. And it's one thing to have speed; it's another thing to be able to steal. And in the history here, the guys that steal the most bases usually are the guys that have been here for a few years, because not only is it about speed, but confidence and being able to get that jump and having enough guts to steal when you have to steal. And so I look forward to this year being able to run a little more than we've been in the past.
I guess what's kind of unique about this team versus your team last year?
Well, I think the difference is what I just mentioned in the position players. Last year, I really think at this point last year, everybody's excited. You're coming off a College World Series appearance, and you returned some of those players that were there. But the truth of the matter is, besides Sykes and Christian Trent, we had a lot of young guys on last year's team. I think close to 75% of our bats were taken by first or second year guys, and so there was a lot put on guys like Errol and JB and Colby, and probably unfairly, and it was going from a role player as a freshman to trying to be a leader as a sophomore, and kind of unfair, I think, to those guys. And but I think by what they've done this fall, you can see they've kind of embraced that leadership role. And in college baseball, juniors are a lot like seniors.
There's not a lot of lefties on the team. I believe there's 4 on the staff, and 2 of those are new JUCO guys. Is that going to be a challenge this year? Because you tend to like a lot of matchups on going lefties on lefties.
I don't think so, and I think if you look at the history of our program staff, you want good pitchers. You want people to be able to get them out, and the lefties that we have, I think, are really good arms and guys that are going to help us. I tend to disagree with you. I think on the mound we tend to go with the best guy. At the plate sometimes you're looking for that righty-left-handed matchup, but on the mound we want the best guy to win the game. If it's wherever it is, if it's the first inning, fifth inning, or ninth inning, and we got a great left-hander out of the bullpen in Wyatt Shore. As you mentioned, a couple JUCO left-handers, Matt Denny returns, and so we got enough left-handers, I think, to give the opposition a different look. But at the end of the day, right-hander, left-hander, they got to be good enough to get them out.
It looks like you have a strong bullpen with a guy like Wyatt Short, having him returning, and then adding a guy like Chad Smith, a lot of different arms that you can throw out there. How do you feel about the bullpen depth going into the year?
I think probably at the start, it's probably when you look at the staff. We mentioned already about the possible starters, for the weekend, and surely one of those guys will have to start in midweek, but probably feels comfortable about the bullpen as we have in quite some time, with Short returning, the All SEC, reliever last year. But on top of that, you get Will Stokes, who, last year when you look at his numbers, it's really unfair. Out of the bullpen, he was tremendous, and so another big arm returning out of the bullpen. And then you got a guy named Dallas Woolfolk, who is as talented as any new guy that we got on the team. And, I think a big power arm that eventually will become the closer at some point in his career here. So we feel pretty good about the bullpen.
There's a slew of really talented catchers here. And, of course, Ole Miss, under your leadership, has had a track record of having guys like Will Allen and Stuart Turner and a lot of successful catchers. How are you going to manage guys like Flores, Pertzak, Lartigue? And there's a lot of talent behind the plate, but only one guy can go a day.
No doubt. If we were to start today, we would go with Henry. Henry had a tremendous fall. He's improved defensively. He's very athletic, great leader. But Nick Fortes, really had a good fall as well, and especially for a freshman offensively. And of course, you got Nick Perkins, and it's tough. It's tough to play a lot of guys. And, not usually will you platoon guys. We've done that, maybe a year or two in the past, just because we were so equal to play. It'd be nice for one of those guys to really separate themselves. And to this point, it looks like it's Henry. But like I said, it's nice to have some depth at that position.
Who do you think is going to get a look at first base this year?
If we were to start today, we'd go with Will Golson. But Colby can play over there, Michael Fitzsimmons, Ryan Olenek. There's several options there, but I think if we were to start today, we'd go with Will Golson. Where do you think Watson may play? Because he's a really versatile guy. You had him in left field. He played a lot of left side of the infield in high school. He's just a tremendous athlete, and probably the best athlete on the field, the guy that can play any position, as you mentioned. He's our best outfielder. So if he's in the game and it's in the outfield, there's a good chance it's going to be in center field where he can cover the most ground. Just really, really can run. But also, he's an outstanding shortstop. And so if something was to happen, I think to Errol, I think he could step in and play shortstop. So even in inter-squad games here, we move him back and forth.
This could very well be one of the best defensive teams that you've had, with all the speed in the outfield, and Colby Bortles has a lot of experience at third base, has made plays there, experience up the middle with a lot of talent. What can you say about what the defense brings to this team this year?
I agree with you, and unfortunately, not much is said about the defense. Everybody wants to know about your offense, everybody wants to know about your pitching. Even in this interview, it's the last thing that we talk about. But you're right. I think you're correct, and the assumption is that we're going to be really good defensively. Part of that comes not only from the speed and the things and the athleticism that you mentioned, but also that you got veterans. You got guys that have been back and can handle the pressure and can handle the adversity that this game brings. And, when you have a 3-year starter at shortstop, I think is a big deal. I think when you look in the outfield, how old we are and how fast we are in the outfield, certainly you're going to cover a lot of ground. So, again, I agree with you. I'm excited about our defense.
There's a pair of highly touted, there's a few highly touted pitchers that are coming in. Do you think that those guys are going to get a shot at the midweek?
You have to say that differently. I don't know.
Sorry. Do you think any of the highly touted...
Because of the depth of the pitchers, because we have so many pitchers?
Yeah, do you think you could see a true freshman going in those midweek games traditionally?
No doubt, but, so some of those guys are going to have a shot on the weekend. Like I said, it's kind of open, and we're looking to put the best guy. And it's been a couple of years since we were in this position, and it's not because of a lack of talent. I think it really has to do with more with depth and guys that just really haven't done it yet. And so we talk about Brady because he's outstanding, but he didn't even pitch in this fall. He had a couple bone spurs removed out of his elbow, and so we project him to be the Friday night guy, and then after that it's kind of up for grabs. But the truth of the matter, a lot of guys pitch really well, like we said, Smith and Parkinson and MacArthur and Johnson, like Brady, in some simulated scrimmages. So certainly one of those guys, if not a couple other guys, have an opportunity to pitch in midweek.
You have experience and vocal leaders in some really good spots, particularly in the field, going catcher, there's a lot of experience there, and shortstop, center field, as well as the ace on the staff. Well, what does it mean to have, experience, yeah, but also in those positions particularly, because you need a catcher who's going to bark, and same with shortstop, and same with center.
Well, kind of, echoing what we've said here, over the last 10 minutes is, one of the differences in this team is, the experience. Guys, maybe some of the similar players in last year, but guys at different roles. I think they look at the game differently. They play the game a little differently. Certainly, you hope that it's part of that's development and how much better they've gotten in the program, and surely that is. But I think the other part of it is just experience and being able to play the game.